guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new limited edition kangaroo leather Adidas F50 adizero as part of the Pure Leather pack. Now inside the box they do include a string bag to go along with the shoes. The string bag is black in color with gold strings. On the front in metallic gold you can see it says K edition. Then it actually does have the kangaroo leather branding right there at the bottom. On the back of the bag you're going to find one metallic gold Adidas logo, and other than that all you're going to find inside the box, as you guys can see, are the shoes themselves. So we'll get these guys out of the box really quickly and take a closer look at the first ever kangaroo leather Adidas F50 adizero, something there's been demand for quite some time. Now you guys are probably looking at this particular pair here, especially if you've seen the press releases or just the images that any retailer that has these is showing. These look a little bit different. Now the press pictures are actually showing a variation of the Pure Leather F50 adizero that has graphics and segmentation similar to a standard synthetic adizero that I have right here, where the seam for the smooth leather and perforated leather is actually right here and right here, with the front half being smooth leather and the back half being perforated leather. Now what has actually been mass produced and released to the public is the variation that I have right here, where the actual seam is in the forefoot on either side, with the front portion being smooth leather and the majority of the shoe being perforated leather. The reasoning for this is very often, even with big companies, which is kind of surprising, especially considering this is a limited edition release, is they gave retailers as well as lots of press websites these pre-production versions of the shoe that weren't necessarily the same as what the final product ended up being, the production version of the shoe that actually is being released to the public. That is what I have right here, and as you guys can see, it's much more similar to the standard leather F50 adizero. Obviously different materials, but the actual layout as far as where the Adidas stripes are and the segmentation of the materials is pretty much identical to this shoe right here. So again, regardless of which pictures are shown on whatever retail you ordered these things from, this is the variation that you get. You're not going to get the variation that was shown in the press pictures simply because that isn't what was produced. So please, please, please keep that in mind. I know there's going to be a lot of confusion with this particular video, but that was the situation. Pre-production samples that aren't actually the same as the final product. What you're seeing right here is actually the final product. So the Pure Leather pack is actually a limited edition release from Adidas, 500 pairs each, where they've given us a kangaroo leather version, of the F50 adizero, the Predator Instinct, as well as the Nitro Charge 1.0. This is the F50 that we're going to be taking a closer look at in today's video. So if you're interested in more details on this particular shoe, please stick around. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's talk about the overall appearance of the Pure Leather F50 adizero. Now, unlike the Predator Instinct and the Nitro Charge 1.0 in the Pure Leather pack, this definitely has the appearance of the standard leather adizero, at least to a certain extent. Of course, there are some differences which we're going to point out, but side by side, I actually have a whiteout colorway right here, or the white and lime green, and you can see side by side they have similarities. The actual seams where the leather cuts off are in the exact same spot. Of course, the leather actually does cut off on the standard releases, whereas on the Pure Leather shoe, it is actually kangaroo leather all the way around. So you have a kind of polished finish to the leather upper, again, across the entirety of the shoe itself. The stitching pattern is also different on the Pure Leather shoe. You can see it's fairly minimal, and it's actually a double kind of side-by-side stitch, as you guys can see. Something I found interesting is that the stitching doesn't actually go to the base of the shoe. It kind of cuts off on both sides, which I thought was a little bit unique in comparison to the standard leather F50. This is the stitching pattern. Kind of give you guys a look at it side by side. It's similar, I guess, but at the same time it is quite different. And of course the quality of the leather is much nicer on the Pure Leather pair, but we'll talk about that more later in the video. You have the same cutoff points for the actual kind of smooth leather on the shoe right here and here, so pretty much either side of the forefoot. And then from the forefoot back, you're going to find this perforated kangaroo leather, which I actually really quite like the look of. It's very interesting, something you don't see all that often on a pair of soccer cleats, honestly. You will find perforations, or what I would classify as micro perforations, on the standard leather F50s, but as you guys can see with this pair, they're just micro perforations, where here it actually does pierce the entire leather and the actual holes themselves are a little bit bigger, and you can see some of the brown from the leather itself kind of peeking through, which again just gives it that very premium, almost old school vibe, at least in my opinion. So really, really nice. You're going to find that leather emblem right there on the back where you would normally find your Adidas branding. As you guys can see, they have maintained the 3 stripes on both the lateral and medial side of the shoe, positioned again exactly the same as you'd find on the standard leather F50, except here it's like an off-white color, more of a cream color as opposed to a pure white, and it's actually laser etched. The little detail here, the detail here that you guys can see in lime green is actually, like I said, etched into the shoe, which is something that I didn't really notice or pick up on until I had the shoe in my hands and really took a close look at them. Central lacing system, black laces as you guys can see. It says K Edition right there on the actual leather tongue. The heel liner is black and it has little perforations in it as well. I believe the heel liner is actually a synthetic material. The insole is gold in color. Here's a look at it. Again, micro perforations throughout. You can see in black here, this little black rectangle. It says F50 Limited K Leather Edition. All of the pure leather models have a specific, or the actual model printed on the insole. It's got the double gold stitching all the way around, and it's just a single layer of foam. So it's not a standard F50 adizero insole, but pretty close, I would say. So nothing too significant there as far as performance is concerned. And then of course it does have your black sprint frame, the black studs in the forefoot, with the one clear stud right there in the middle of the forefoot, and then the 4 clear studs under the heel, as you guys can see, and of course the mycoach cavities. So that's pretty much it as far as the appearance of the shoe is concerned. Again, not too far off from a standard leather F50, but leave your opinions on it down below in the comment section. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Why or why not? Curious to hear your opinions. With that being said, let's move on to the tech specs of the shoe so we can learn a little bit more about the overall performance. As far as performance is concerned, what you're getting with the pure leather F50 is pretty straightforward, very, very simple, and there's honestly not a lot to talk about. It's a kangaroo leather upper all the way through, which, like I said, differs from the standard colorways, where normally you have the split in the forefoot, where from this seam here and this seam here forward, you're actually going to find a calfskin leather upper, whereas all this perforated material here is a fairly soft synthetic. It's by no means bad, but certainly most people would prefer a full leather upper, which is exactly what we're getting here with the pure leather pack. So soft kangaroo leather, I would say that it is noticeably nicer than what you're going to find on the general release colorways. It's pretty much melting in your hand, and I think it's pretty well known at this point that a lot of Adidas's professional players who are wearing the F50 adizero, most notably Leo Messi himself, does wear a leather variation. Now I did take a look at some pictures of him wearing his variations of the F50, and I couldn't quite match up the stitching pattern on this shoe with what a lot of the professional players wearing modified leather F50s are actually wearing. So it doesn't appear to be exactly the same as what the pros are wearing themselves, but it definitely is something that I would expect would match those shoes as far as quality is concerned and just the softness of the leather in general. So very interesting stitching pattern. It will allow the shoe to stretch quite nicely on your foot, just making for a very comfortable fit. And then of course you do get the perforated leather upper, which is thinner, granted, in comparison to the front portion of the shoe. It doesn't have quite that same plush padded sensation, but still is very, very nice, and I prefer the quality of this shoe overall versus what you're going to get with the standard F50, but that shouldn't be too much of a surprise. You do get the leather tongue. Of course, it's kangaroo leather as opposed to calfskin. You have your embroidered Adidas logo right there, a little detail that I didn't show earlier. And again, just nice quality overall, no major complaints whatsoever. And other than that, everything else about this shoe is pretty much a standard F50 adizero. You're going to find your synthetic leather liner with the micro perforations like I mentioned. You guys already saw the insole, which is of course fully removable. And then of course you get the adizero sprint frame and stud pattern, which is, in my opinion, really, really good. It's what makes the shoe as light as it is. You get this new bladed stud pattern that, again, performs really good as far as traction is concerned on firm natural grass playing surfaces. And if you're a fan of the F50 adizero and you wanted a more premium kangaroo leather version of that shoe, then this was definitely a limited edition release that you should have had your eyes on, or maybe do have your eyes on if you didn't manage to get one of the 500 pairs that were released on the actual release day that pretty much sold out instantly. So again, that's pretty much it as far as tech specs are concerned. Leave your opinions on it down below in the comment section. How close do you think this actually is to the variations of the leather F50 that are given to the professional players, the big names like Leo Messi? Your opinions down below in the comments, something I'm curious about, so leave them there. And other than that, guys, that's pretty much it as far as tech specs go, and move on next to a quick weigh-in so we can see how lightweight these guys are. As far as weight is concerned, I thought it'd be fun to compare the weight of the standard leather F50 to that of the pure leather F50 that I have right here, mainly because this is entirely leather on the upper, whereas this one is only partially leather, and I wanted to see if the weight difference was significant enough for Adidas to actually justify releasing a product like this as opposed to a full leather product that we're getting here with this limited edition release. So keep in mind that these are both in brand new condition and both in the same size 9 US, so this is a very fair comparison. We'll start off with the standard leather F50, throw it on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 6.7 ounces, which is pretty light. As a reference, the synthetic model in the same size weighs in at about 5.8. So the leather upper variation weighs about an ounce more. Is that noticeable? Yes, to a certain extent, but at the same time, the leather version provides a completely different feel in comparison to the synthetic model. So again, remember 6.7 ounces. We'll throw on the pure leather upper variation, and you can see that this shoe weighs in at 6.75 or 6.8 ounces, just to keep things simple. So essentially, they are exactly the same weight, which is a little bit disappointing to me because that just goes to show that yes, Adidas could have given us a full leather shoe, a kangaroo leather version of the F50 adizero, and kept it as light as it could possibly be, because obviously they've given us a shoe that features less leather and lesser quality leather that weighs pretty much exactly the same weight. So again, it's a little bit of Adidas skimping out, I think, in this particular situation, and it is a little bit disappointing to see, but that is kind of what you can expect from a lot of these bigger companies. But again, this is a top-end model. They're asking $200+ for a pair of these shoes. So honestly, even though this is a limited edition release, I'm really happy with the quality, but I really think this variation of the leather F50 should have what has been released to the public in the first place as the 2014 leather F50 adizero. But leave your opinions down below in the comment section. That's it as far as weight is concerned. And next we'll move on to a quick on feet so you can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit and of course what the sizing is like. Alright, so here's a look at the pure leather F50 adizeros on feet, and I have to say I'm really happy with how these things fit and feel. The overall shape is still adizero-esque, but because the entire upper is made from leather, they just have a very premium vibe, especially in comparison to the standard general release version of the leather F50. The leather is softer and it covers your entire foot, and again, it just feels really nice. It's a shame that this is a limited edition release, because honestly, if it were a general release, I honestly think that this would be one of my go-to shoes, and not only that, I think it would be one of the best, if not the best, lightweight leather options currently out there on the market. Something that I can't really give the title to the current leather F50, just because it's nowhere near as nice as these things are. So again, as far as the overall fit of the shoe is concerned, because it is kangaroo leather all over, you will get some stretch after some break-in time, especially in the forefoot area here. The leather is soft and flexible from out of the box. You can see I can move around my toes pretty freely, and again, it's just an extremely comfortable shoe overall that will only get more and more comfortable once you start to break them in. They form to the exact shape of your foot. It still is a tight fitting shoe, so if you have really wide feet, probably not the best option for you, especially with that sprint frame base, which is fairly narrow and a little bit tighter cut, especially in the midfoot area. But again, it is going to be suitable for most foot types, I would say. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair of these, or just looking to get a pair of F50 adizeros in general, either leather or synthetic, I would strongly recommend going true to size for the best possible fit. Alright guys, that's it for my review of the pure leather Adidas F50 adizero. Really good looking shoe in my opinion. I like the old school black and white vibe that they have going on here, especially with the perforated leather through the midfoot area of the shoe. And as far as quality is concerned, it really blows the current leather F50 out of the water. The premium kangaroo leather upper is soft and significantly nicer than what you're going to find on the current leather F50. It's just as light, and again, it's just a much nicer shoe overall. I still don't know the answer as to why this wasn't the general release version of the F50 adizero in the first place, and it also is a bit of a shame that this shoe is limited to only 500 pairs worldwide, so most people will not even have a chance to hold them in their hands, let alone have the opportunity to wear a pair. But it does make me optimistic for what the future holds with the F50 line, and hopefully we can get a future leather F50 model more along the lines of the quality that we're getting here as opposed to what we have right now. So leave your opinions down below in the comment section. If you guys want more info on this shoe, check out the review page on my website. It'll be the very first link down below in the description. There won't be a full written review for this shoe, but what you will find there are the high quality images that I took myself that'll give you a better idea as to some of the close-up details that you might not see in the online stock photos. And of course, if there are any available anywhere, I will have buy it now links on that page as well. So again, First link down below in the description. Go ahead and check it out for more info. If you guys have any questions or suggestions, leave those down below in the comment section. I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. That would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.